Morning, everybody.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, I'm a little behind. Good morning. All right. Well, I had a very interesting call with a good friend of mine this morning, and it definitely is going to fit into our topic today. So today's the do you give up, right? Look at what we did this week. Why and when do you stop yourself? Are you still giving up the same way? Are you a finisher? What do you remember from the past you wish you could have finished? What would life look like with a no-quit attitude? You know, like when we were going through all of that, it's pretty insane, like thinking about the things that we do. So I know there was a little bit of homework this week, like just thinking about certain things and why we do what we do, right? And what would life look like if we don't give up, or if we just change the way we think about what giving up means, or what does it mean to accomplish things, right? When you finish, like what is that feeling of satisfaction? And what do you remember, from your past that you wish you could have finished, and digging into that emotion? And what would life look like with a no-quit attitude, right? Like, and daydream around that. What would your life look like? And I wanted you guys to tap into emotion, because so much of the emotion that we deal with is negative. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. How could I do that? I'm so stupid. And it's like we tell ourselves these things. And then depending on how we feel about ourselves, we also bring in energy that supports the way we feel about ourselves. And then other people start saying or insinuating those things to us. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. But it's the energy that we use, and it's the thought process that we build around that, so that, and this is my interpretation of what I'm about to say, so that we don't make ourselves vulnerable to saying, I'm going to achieve something great, and then fall flat on our face and then be judged. So think about that. Think about the self-created story. And then the topic for today that we're going to start talking about, the header for the next week, is what do you avoid, right? And now that we're thinking about what do you want, envision yourself as a king champion, because you are. But you have to believe that even champions still lose, and it's okay, because they pick themselves up and they get coached, and that's part of the reason you're on this call, is to be primed so you can get a kick in the ass, so that you can remind yourself that it doesn't matter what happens to any of us. What matters is, what do you do when something happens to you? And you can either live in that moment to keep yourself in that spiral of or you can say it's time to flush the toilet and start afresh. So today it's what's left that you avoid. So let's look at that. What do you avoid, right? What do you avoid? Think about those things. And I'm hopeful that as you've been on these calls, there have been less things that you avoid. And the reason that today's call is so special to me is because Dave, who's on this call, he's one of my best friends, and we were talking about certain things that he was experiencing and going through while he had somebody that he thought was a friend that was not only taking advantage of him, but taking advantage of so many other people that he discovered as he became a private investigator instead of just confronting what was really going on. And when he initially called me to share what was going on, I had no idea that he had been holding all of this inside for such a long time. And the first thing that he said to me before he started opening up to me was, don't judge me. Don't tell me I'm this. Don't tell me I'm that. Don't. And he started creating a safe environment for himself, which wasn't safe. He was just trying to protect himself from what was going on because he felt embarrassed about it. And that's what I want to harp on. It doesn't matter who the it was. That's what we do. We feel, and you can fill in the blank. I don't have to say the word. We feel, and then we hold ourselves back from solving the problem, even though we're living in misery. We're living in pain. And we're thinking we can do these little teeny weeny actions and then, the world's going to change for us. Well, that's not happening. It's not real. And then when he allowed me to dig in and we confronted what was going on, we really saw what was going on. And then the solution wasn't super challenging, but it's like the elephant that grows up as a baby elephant with a chain around its leg, with a little, metal spike or a wood spike in the ground. And that elephant, even when it grows up to be the most powerful mammal on this planet that's walking, that chain with that little stake, which could never hold it back if it was an adult, the elephant was trained to be held back. Not because it doesn't know better, but because it relates to the chain and what it means, and it doesn't challenge it. So once we started to talk about it, and that was only like 3 days ago, do you think Dave still has a problem? No. Do you think that problem has been solved because we created actions around it? Yeah. Was the outcome what he thought it would be, which was crippling him, and he carried stress because he lived in an imaginary world that we do for as long as he did? Stress is gone. So when you think about what it is that you're doing in this life and the time that you have and the shit that's holding you back, what's left for you to avoid? Seriously. Because the only thing that we avoid is ourselves. That's it. We avoid that shit. We avoid ourselves. We avoid dealing with ourselves. We avoid dealing with big problems because of an unknown. And that unknown, the solution could be so simple, but instead, we create a world. We create a universe. We create a multiverse. And within that whole, whatever it is that we've made, we've built all these stories around it. It's almost like you wrote a story that literally is a horror story, but you're not telling it to anybody else. You're telling it to yourself. And we blew through that story in a heartbeat. So when you ask yourself, what are you avoiding? The question shouldn't be, what are you avoiding? The question is, what's left for you to avoid? Because you've already avoided everything in your life. We've all done it. Now the question is, what's left for me to avoid? Because I'm not afraid to face anything anymore. And if you want to build, if you do have that vision, which again, I'm hopeful you did the short homework, 30 seconds or a minute of visualization. If you can't do that, don't show up on these calls, please. You're not ready for them. But if you can do homework for 30 seconds or a minute, right, which I don't think that's too much to ask. But if you're doing the homework and you envision a life that you want, now what's left to avoid? Because all we're avoiding is a story that we created for ourselves, unless the story is something that we've built that's like, I believe, I'm going after this, and you work to it. That I'm comfortable with. That I applaud. But all the other stuff, just garbage, right? Like, how on earth did I blow up my business when COVID started? How did I do so much business? How is that possible? It's because I believed. It's because I created this program for myself, for my mind, for my future. But I had to take action. Because the opposite was fear and paralysis and negativity and I can't and I won't and oh my God and the world's ending. And I bought into that for a little bit, right? But not for long. So what's left for you to avoid? And if there's nothing left for you to avoid, then just go and get it with a smile on your face and enjoy it while you're going through it. Appreciate the process, even if you get your ass kicked, even if you get your teeth knocked out. You can buy replacement teeth. There's a lot of hockey players that, I grew up with, and they'll punch out their little, missing teeth, and it's kind of funny to look at them when they're not embarrassed to take their teeth out, but when they do it playfully. See, that's the difference. If some people will look at you and go, oh my God, I have no teeth, I can't smile, I'm going to put my hand over my mouth and kind of like look down and feel embarrassed, and other people will just pull out their dentures. And that's what's so beautiful about life, is like you can look at somebody that you think has the most problems, and they look at you and they smile. And you're like, how are you doing that? And one of the most profound moments I had in a realization, which I told you guys about, like me trekking in the Himalayas and stuff like that, it was the villages that we encountered, or the people that worked on the mountains, on those trails, and they had no shoes, and they were carrying, I swear to God, this one man, and I have a picture in my old photo album, and they make their backpacks out of like wood and stuff like that. And these guys are carrying well over 100 pounds, and they don't even weigh 120 pounds, and they're walking up a mountain with no shoes on. I'm not even making this up. No shoes. And then there are children that walk 8 to 12 miles to school every morning. And I have all these pictures of these kids, and their cheeks are windburnt permanently. They're all blushed red. Would you walk 10 to 12 miles in the Himalayas to school when you're like, think about the storms that they have to encounter to walk to school. And they show up. That was the morning that I learned, like when I summited that day, because we started at 3 a.m. and my water line froze and my camelback and everything. But if you remember, I said, I'm going to summit this whether it kills me or not. I'm going to summit this. And I didn't give myself a choice. And when I made it, I cried my eyes out. These kids have to walk to school every day. I just had to summit one mountain. They have to walk to school every day. So what are you bitching about? And does it really matter? Just embrace it. Be glad that you're here, right? Like, not all of you know that I have to dig deeper, but I've been dealing with like back problems because there's a bone spur right growing in my lower spine, and it's causing me to have like severe back pain more often. But not just back pain, but like debilitating, crippling back pain. And as much as that sucks, I haven't once thought, why me? I haven't once thought, like, this is the worst. I'm going to have the worst future. Instead, I was like, wow, I've been 50 years pretty good. Now, okay, I got this. Now, how do I deal with it? And I'm going to deal with it. And it's going to be okay. Even if it isn't, it's still going to be okay. So what's left for you to avoid when there's nothing left for you to avoid, right? Other than your own greatness. So go pull on that today. Go and be amazing. There's nothing that needs to stop you when you put life in perspective. And if you can think about 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids walking 8 to 12 miles in the blistering cold just to get to school because they want an education, what are you doing? What are you bitching about? How small is it in comparison? And I want to open this up to Dave. I know you're probably on your treadmill, but Dave, I would love for you to share that, because I don't just want to call it out and put you on the spot, but I just want you to share in this, because what if you can just share a small lesson that you learned from this encounter, just for a minute, so that people can understand, because everyone's dealing with something on their own, but it's their own. It's different, but it's the same. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think you hit the nail on the head. I was basically circling around the issue and not trying to get into the bullseye. And in every other aspect of my life, I'm very direct. I'm always bullseye. I always want to be the pit bull on the bone that won't let go. But for some reason, I just kept on circling and going around and around, creating so much stress to the point where I couldn't sleep. And I just needed to cannonball in, say, look, I'm not going to listen to this con anymore. I need to do what's best for me. And within a half an hour conversation, after networking and working through it, realized, oh my goodness, there's nothing there. There really was nothing there. It was just the continuation of a con. And I'm not upset and I'm not disappointed in myself. I just think that, in certain parts of my life, I grew up in a very humble upbringing in a very violent neighborhood, and I left. And for some reason, I think, we still kind of hold crutches, even though we can tell ourselves we don't. And I wasn't willing to come through the front door, say, I'm not dealing with this. I need to get guidance, and I need to either take action or not. And it wound up being, it was all just smoke and mirrors. So I continue to reflect on that, and I continue to think about the moments that I've made, life-changing steps, change people, places, things, because it's not the best decision for me and my family. And that's something that I think I just want to continue to work through. Like, why did I allow myself to get to this place? Because in 99% of my life, I'd never deal with something like that. But valuable lesson, and continue to reflect and not be embarrassed about it.
Yeah. And that was all self-created. All of it. And that's the thing for all of us to walk out of here with today, as we move forward after this call. Is like, what are you keeping inside of you? What is the story that you're keeping inside of you about something that you can do something about, but you haven't? That's on you. I can't make you do anything. It's on you, right? That quote, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I mean, that's just the truth. Dave decided to take action, but as he was taking action, he had to go through all these layers of, hey, don't judge me. Like, he had to make all these rules, but at least he opened up. And that's the point. And it's about studying those things that he did before he opened up. And it was just the fear of judgment, right? The fear of judgment, because he already had judged himself. And now, because of how he judged himself, he was thinking that the rest of the world would judge him the same way. That's not who he wants to be. That's not how he wants to be seen. So instead, for the longest time, he just lived with it. And he created a world that brought so much stress and physical discomfort and lack of sleep, and for nothing. And I've done it. All of you have done it. But then the question is, why do we do it? And now that we're looking at it, just ask yourself that. And what is left for you to avoid? When you know it, you can't avoid it anymore. Now you just have to deal with it. So deal with it. I'm not saying anything that you have to deal with is going to be easy, pretty, simple. But if you don't, then you're going to keep creating a story. It's going to get bigger. You're probably going to make yourself sick, because there are actual studies about what we think about and how we feel, because the body is reacting. Cortisol release, stress, more of the lizard brain, right? Like where you think about fight or flight. Like the body transforms when you live in stress. And then if you live in stress long enough, then your body constantly needs to live in that stress. That becomes your habit. That fucking sucks. I don't know about you, but I've been there. I already know it sucks. Just ask yourself what's left to avoid. And if there ain't nothing left to avoid, then just one foot in front of the other and walk towards your success and see your future. Go after your vision, because when I climbed that mountain and I summited on that mountain, I made a decision to climb that mountain. And the decision also had a consequence. Whether I really would have allowed myself to die or not, I don't know. But I didn't get to that point. I just kept putting one foot in front of another with a no-quit attitude, whether I liked it or not, and I did it. So, you only have this one life, man. This is it. Today is a fresh day. This is it. This is your day. Tomorrow's your day. The next day after that is your day. It's all your fucking day. Every one of them. But you have to use it. So, that's enough preaching for today. I am very passionate about this one because I know where I've been stuck, and a very, very, very relevant moment with Dave and where he was stuck. And we've all got our stories around what we've done or where we're at, what we're creating in our world on a negative. So I just challenge you to do that on a positive. So go kick some ass. Have an amazing weekend. Thank you all for this call, because I really love this one, because this is where so many of us got stuck, including me. I'll catch you all on Monday.
Go kick some ass.
Later, everybody. Woohoo! Bye, Katie.
Woohoo! Have a great day.
Later, guys.
Bye.